On today's episode, we talk with Kamesha Laurry, who practices entertainment law out of Washington, D.C. Guys, she has the most amazing job. She gets to watch documentaries before they're even out and fact check and legal check. So cool.
Hey everybody, it's Reggie with Lawyer Interviews. Today we have Kamesha Laurry, who is out of Washington, D.C. Hi, Kamesha.
Hi, Reggie. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for allowing me this cool opportunity.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you. You are one of I think maybe we've had one other, but you've got such an interesting area of law, and I'd love you to tell our viewers what you practice.
Sure. Okay. Hi, viewers. So I'm in this really cool niche area, and it's in the media law realm. So essentially, my work involves like protecting the rights, the First Amendment rights of journalists, reporters, and filmmakers, and just sharing what legal protections they have and how can they best get their content out there without being sued.
Right, right. And I'm sure that for filmmakers especially, or people who have such a public profile, I'm sure that legal suits or legal issues pop up all the time. Do you find that with your clients?
Oh, for sure, especially in the film making realm. So a lot of the times we, as media lawyers, have to engage in the pre-publication review process. And essentially what that means is on our end, lawyers vet documentaries. So that means before it comes out to the public, I get the unique opportunity to watch documentaries and
Oh,
and
cool.
see like what legal challenges or issues are in the film. So that means it could be a wide variety of unique issues, such as one, copyright, being able to figure out if they have permissions to use music, clips from newsrooms, or maybe if it's like civil rights archival footage, and be able to tell our clients like, hey, maybe you can't insert here this cool song that you think is
Yeah,
popular because you don't have the rights for it.
right.
Or it could be anything on the realms of defamation and libel, where they're calling out someone, let's say hypothetically, for accusations of race. And, those are essentially fighting words to call someone a racist. So just
Right.
figuring out how you can legally protect yourself, but still get your point across. And then other things such as like getting permissions to film in certain locations, or maybe getting releases to allow certain individuals on the screen. That's just what I get to do on a day-to-day basis, and I absolutely love it.
That is so cool. And I'm even in IP. So, and just hearing you talk about it, I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought about it. But now that you say it, how many IP issues are maybe in one film, like especially a documentary where you're dealing with releases, permits, like you were saying, it's so interesting that, an hour and a half documentary could probably have thousands of little legal implications or issues. I mean,
Yeah,
I have to identify all of those.
yeah, literally. I just did. Oh wow, I can shout out the documentary that I just vetted.
Shout it
Um,
out.
yeah, it's called Black Mothers. And it was just shown last Friday at the San Francisco International Film Festival. So very proud. Definitely recommend watching it. And a little background information about the movie. It essentially follows the lives of mothers who had children who were victims to police brutality. So
Oh,
whether they were killed and murdered, or beatenly, brutally beaten by cops. So some familiar mothers in the film is like the mother of Oscar Grant, who was killed at Fruitville Station. We have a new mother that's coming in the spotlight. Her name is Angela Wilkerson, whose son did not die, fortunately, but was still beaten badly by police officers in Alabama. And then just showing like how these ladies continue to live their day-to-day lives, how resilient they are, um, and like what are they doing to advocate for changes that would affect how the police you know have these certain privileges, such as like qualified immunity
Community.
regarding,
Mhm.
yeah, regarding rights for individuals.
A good tie-in would be Marcys Law, which we discussed a little bit before the interview, and I'd love you to share with our viewers what that is and why it's important.
Yeah, so Marcys Law was originally adopted in California, and the purpose of the law was just to give crime victims or the families of crime victims extra protections when it comes to having certain rights in the criminal justice system. So, for instance, they wanted to make sure that the families of the crime victims who were maybe murdered or raped or assaulted could have a process or a say when it comes to the type of punishment that the offender can receive. And I guess the story that even started Marcys Law is back in the day. I don't have the exact dates, but a couple years ago, there was a girl. Her name was Marcy. She was murdered by her boyfriend. And then, like, obviously, the boyfriend was charged, but Marcy's family didn't know anything about his case, like nothing, absolutely nothing. So they did not realize he was on bail because no one informed them. So one day after visiting their sister's grave, they went to the store and they saw the boyfriend who murdered the who murdered Marcy in the grocery store. And obviously you can, like, if you put yourself in them shoes, if you saw the person who murdered your sister, how you feel, or your daughter, you would probably go crazy. You'd probably attack them, or maybe you start bawling out and crying. But it was a shock to them, and they were like, this is unfair. Why don't we have a voice? Why didn't we know about the procedures? So Marcys Law, like I said, gives extra protections, but there is one protection that I want to bring to your attention, and that is the confidentiality protection, which essentially provides the crime victims' families um, confidentiality regarding like their identity.
Mhm.
So that means newspapers can't publish like the names of the crime victims' family, so they won't be harassed by the media when they're dealing with this type of situation.
Right.
And the problem with it right now is that police officers are claiming crime victim status in a lot of police brutality cases, saying, "Hey, we are crime victims. We were using self-defense. Our name shouldn't be out there to the public. We shouldn't be able. Newspapers should also not be able to publish our names. And that is problematic because as you know, our Constitution gives us the right to allow the public to know what our government is doing. That's how our government has run.
Mhm.
Um, we need to be able to help police officers accountable for
Mhm.
what they're doing,
Mhm.
especially in these crazy times. We all saw the protesting from the Black Lives Matter movement and all cases that are coming to light right now. So that is something that my organization, which I'm going to shout out briefly, RCFP, the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, did publish an amicus brief in support of that law. And basically, the arguments we are advocating for is essentially that Marcy's Law was never intended to protect police officers, point blank, period.
They're public servants. They're doing a job. They're not necessarily. Not that a police officer cannot be a victim. I would say that can happen. But in these
Yeah.
situations, that has not been historically the case, right? Like 9 times out of 10, not been the case. So, right.
Yes, but to bring back to the question that I did not answer before,
You're fine. You're fine.
when it comes to vetting documentaries, you're right. There's endless legal issues that come to play, and that means that I have to watch the documentary once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, like over and over.
Over.
Yeah, very yeah, but just making sure we have everything right.
Right.
Obviously, we can't, you know, yeah, basically everyone has an opportunity to sue someone, but we just want to minimize the legal risks as much as we can.
Mhm.
And so that's why pre-pub, it's just so cool.
Yeah.
And we try to advise our clients to the best of our ability.
That's so cool. And I think it's neat too to have the tie-in as well when we're talking about victims and families in current ongoing proceedings that are criminally based, because media law, I think some people go, oh, movies, TV, but it goes to freedom of the press into the courtroom, and our rights with the First Amendment, and our right, like you said, as the public to have information, as long as it's not sealed because they're a minor or whatnot. But it covers such a broad area that most people might not think, because we have to balance our First Amendment rights and not chilling speech, but also victims' families also have a legitimate interest in being protected. Because I know that, for instance, I know with a lot of cases that have been coming out in the last few years, the families of victims have been targeted for speaking out just in support of their family members. And even if they're like, hey, I believe in the justice system, or if I don't believe in the justice system, I mean, just brutally harassed. And so I can see a very, very good reason to protect the families.
Exactly. Totally agree. And that's why I'm going to advocate as much as I can, because honestly, this is ridiculous for cops to claim that victim status. Again,
Right.
acknowledging circumstantial, but for
Of
police
course.
brutality cases, not okay.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to add one thing also that I think is pretty exciting. When I was first entering this media law area, and this is just going back to pre-publication and documentaries, um, also pay close attention to the end of documentaries, the cards, where you see, let's say like, oh, such and such does not uh, comment on the topic. Um,
Right.
all of those things are really because of the legal protections that we're trying to implement to say, like, hey, we outreach to that person, but they are not commenting on what we have to say. Uh,
Mhm.
so just think, all of that is just making sure we have our facts straight and making sure we're accurate as possible. So pay attention to documentaries now when you watch them.
I've noticed that too. I always figured it was so that, to say, hey, look, we tried reaching out to the other side to let them give,
Yeah.
their own version of the facts, but they decline, which is so interesting that so many people do decline, when it's like, if you want your side out there, wouldn't you want to participate? But,
Too. I always thought that too, but I guess sometimes you gotta plead the fifth, I guess.
the bed, they're like, I'm not going to comment. Well, that's so cool. So when you get, say you get footage of a documentary and there is a problem, how do you let the studio know, or do you let a director know? Who do you let know?
Oh, we directly contact the clients,
Okay.
who we talk to. So what it looks like is, let's say I'm watching it, and for me at least, I have a list on my side while I'm watching the documentary, and I'm just like, okay, boom, this is not right. Boom, you need to address this. And then I have a client meeting where I'm like, okay, this is the problems that I found in the documentary, because we want to make sure before we even get it to the studio, before we even get it to who's producing it, we want to make sure everything is right, because with what the editors and everything are focusing on, they just want to get the content out there. They're
Right.
not looking at the legal ramifications. We're just trying to make sure that the protections are right beforehand, before we even send it out to the next steps.
Interesting. That is so cool. All right. Well, now I've got to ask you like the deep dive question here. What are some of your favorite documentaries that are binge worthy that you would recommend to our viewers?
Oh, this is hard. It's because I love wow, I love sports, number one. So like, if you guys are into like a good sports story of like how people have overcome like injuries and everything, definitely recommend the 3430 series on, I believe, ESPN.
Mhm.
Uh, and then when it comes to wildlife, so many things, I definitely recommend like Blackfish. I know it's pretty old, but that one always got me. I didn't know what SeaWorld was up to, and just finding out,
Yeah.
things about their wells and everything, life changing.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's very hard to say, because I just love so many. I love docuseries. Like OJ Simpson's docuseries was incredible to me.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's still on Netflix, but things like that, just entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't have a set answer, which sucks, I know, but
You know, if you have to watch them all day for work, maybe that's something you're like, I don't want to I don't want to watch it when I get home. I don't know if you're like that, but if I've been reading all day, last thing I want to do is like, even if it's case law, read a book. I'm like, no, I want to watch trash reality TV, and that's all I want to do.
what I told my best friend. She always recommends me book, and I'm saying, I read all day. I have to do brief motions. Why would I want to read for fun?
Exactly. My brain can't take it. I just need mindless garbage. And that's why Bravo exists, I think, is mindless garbage. And I love it. I'm a huge fan. Oh, Kamesha, it's been so great talking to you today. And we've gained such an education too on Marcys Law and, you know, why that ties into media law and our First Amendment. So thank you for joining us. And again, such a cool job. I'm like kind of envious. Like I want to do your job. So when you're hiring, you know, just let me know.
I got you. And I just want to, I guess, end the video off with trying to give advice on like how to get to this field.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, no one. The media law space is very tiny. I'm gonna be quite frank. It's very hard to get in here. So I get questions all the time, like, "How did you get this job? How did you get this position?" And I want everyone to know that if you know you want to be in this field, then well, great. That's a great start. And there's different ways you can approach this. So a lot of organizations have fellowships or internships that focus on First Amendment issues. And that always correlates to journalism. So if you can find something or an internship that focus on First Amendment issues, then that's already a stepping stone. Number two, if you can find like an internship in a newsroom or a media company, that's even better, clearly. But those are more harder to find. But I just want to open the door with just saying, first, look for First Amendment related internships. Third, I believe that certain like law schools have clinics focused on media. I don't believe mine did. I went to Northwestern, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of clinics have it. For instance, I know UCLA has like a media law clinic, and enroll in that. And if your school doesn't have a clinic, attend a class, take an entertainment law class, take a First Amendment class, just to expose yourself to that area. And then recruiters can see, oh, look what they took on their transcript.
Right.
And then lastly, you honestly can decide after graduation that, hey, I want to do this media law space. Because like me, I knew nothing about media law. I went into law school thinking I was doing labor and employment work. And when I graduated, also thought I was doing media law. Labor and employment work. And I just saw an opportunity online for a media law job, applied, and my guest supervisor took a chance on me and was like, okay, she has no media law experience prior, but I'm still able to get on this in this field. So there's different ways to approach it, and don't think just because you don't have experience, like your chances are gone. But also, if you can, put yourself in a better predicament by taking those classes or internships.
Absolutely. And yeah, try for them. I mean, I think some people would probably be surprised if they would just research it and try, because it's the only thing stopping is trying. Right?
You don't have to lose, really. You don't have anything to lose. Just apply. If you didn't get it, move on to the next job description and apply there.
And if you did get it, you get to watch the documentaries before they come out, which is really cool.
10 film festivals, yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I love it. Oh man, I'm so jealous. All right. Well, Kamesha, thank you again for joining us. And one last thing, if you will let everyone know where to follow you on social media, just tell us your handles and we'll throw them up on the screen.
Sure. So I have 3 different handles. The first 2, I always recommend my Instagram page, which is the Laurry Life, and I give a bunch of tips and cool reels showing my life on the day-to-day and what media law um, tips that I have to offer, or just general law student lawyer advice. And then you can follow me on TikTok for my corny creative videos. Same title, The Laurry Life. And then on YouTube, you can follow me at It's K Yvonne. And I spill all the tea when it comes to law school, when it comes to traveling tips, and when it comes to eating at cool restaurants.
Well, I'm all about that. And I'll find you on TikTok. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kamesha. You have a great day. And everybody, thank you for watching Lawyer Interviews, and we will see you next time.